guess that's one way to steer it. Yeah. I think it did. Seen the one that's on between McCartney and Florence? There's also one here in town. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to tonight's study session. This is December 4th, 2023, and welcome to everybody. I think tonight we're going to talk a little bit about our City Hall campus master plan. Larry, do you want to kind of set this up?
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, thank you for the opportunity to present tonight. I'm actually going to be asking Mr. Barber to lead the dialogue. He certainly has a fair amount of history about this campus and the activities that have transpired throughout the decades since the city acquired and renovated this particular property and neighboring properties. But essentially, just to kind of set the tone for everybody, the mayor and council had established an action item in our fiscal year 24 annual budget process to evaluate the City Hall campus, to evaluate the potential current and future needs. And tonight, Mr. Barber is going to begin to lay the foundation for a potential campus master plan. And he'll hand the baton back to me as we come close to to finalizing the discussion, just to add a few points at the very end. But with that, I'll turn it over to Mr. Barber.
Before you start, Scott, he just called you old.
Well, if the shoe pinches.
Sorry, couldn't resist. It was a softball. It was just like too big.
Mayor McFarland, members of the council, you've perhaps heard it said that the journey of 1,000 miles begins with the first step. And so this step this evening has the potential of being a first step in a series of steps as we speak about this particular building and the surrounding campus. I tried to bring some history to you. Some of you have experienced the history of this building and this facility very personally over the years, and I understand that. But looking back at least 25 years ago, the need for a new high school and some unsuccessful attempts to get the voters of a community to authorize that, I think it became clear at that time, the understanding that this building specifically held a very dear place in the hearts of our local residents. And without some definitive plan on the part of the school district on what was going to happen here, not likely to be any success in getting a bond issue passed. And so that dialogue began and discussions began about whether or not the city would acquire the downtown campus, and ultimately that's what took place. And the building itself stood here, and then looking back to 1919, 1920, when the school district actually had to have an IGA with the town of Casa Grande, the city of Casa Grande, for fire service because the building was outside of the city limits. And through the addition of the out structures over the course of time, so the agreement was reached and the city acquired the downtown campus. And the pieces began to fit into place after that about what was going to happen. Some discussion about the reuse of Old Main, and ultimately turned out to be, this would need be the City Hall. The old gym behind there to be destroyed, the outbuildings on the side, and the modulars that were out there. And the city had a specific need for a congregate care assisted living facility, was able to make an agreement with the developer back there and sell out that particular parcel. Boys and Girls Club needed some place to be, and so the gymnasium suited that purpose. Our Parks and Recreation operation needed some space, and so the old band room and choral rooms in the auditorium building were used. The old library, which is called Building B today, was leased to others, a Fidelity National title and what have you. So it all kind of fell together, and the renovation project began. You might remember when this building was just really kind of gutted out and redone, and opened as City Hall in 1997. I remember the move from 4th Street over here and celebrating that and being in this historic structure. All along the way, discussions continued to be a part of what was going on in relationship to the auditorium building itself. That's about 1,000-seat theater with a legitimate proscenium. You don't see those very often anymore. And so a lot of discussions very early about reuse, about putting it back into service. There would need some improvements to some of the chairs that were wrecked or what have you. But there was a lot of discussion about how it should be reused and whether it should be split up and what have you. And ultimately, the weeks turned into months, and a lot of discussion took place. But there did come a point in time when there was a decision to, what we ought to do is hire an architect and put a remodeling plan together and bid it out and see what we're talking about in terms of putting it back into use in the most efficient way. And so that's what happened in 2002. I do have to correct something in my narrative, though. I said that it was an engineer's estimate of $2.5 million, and it was never put out to bid. In fact, it was put out to bid. I did some research in the archives of the newspaper. It was put out to bid. There were more than one bidder. Most of the bids were over $3 million. The low bid was $2.47 million at that particular point in time. And so that was the number on the table that the council seated at that time was dealing with in relationship to potentially remodeling that facility. And ultimately, the project never moved forward. There was never a decision on the part of the council to move forward. And so that's what continued to be on until the Community Recreation Center was built and the public work, Parks and Recreation operation was moved from that building. And so it's been vacant since that happened back in 2017. And ultimately, the Boys and Girls Club was able to move in there as well, and so that operation was moved over. There was one additional step taken a couple of years ago in 2021 when a request for interest was issued for the acquisition and redevelopment of an area that includes the auditorium, gymnasium, and the property that the city owns, and we also just acquired on Picacho and 8th Street over there. Including, there was some discussion in 2021 about, and there were no takers on that, by the way. I think you know that. And then in 2021, there was some discussion as we prepared to talk about bond issue, whether or not we would be able to include anything in that. But not a lot of planning had been done. I should have also mentioned, as I did in my narrative, that along the way, this used to be the courtroom, and the city court was back here. Before that, court was in a little house on the corner of Dry Lake and 4th Street, kind of catty corner from City Hall. And the court operation began to grow to the point where there was a decision made to build a freestanding court facility. And a commitment was kind of made at that point in time in locating that facility on the northwest corner of the City Hall campus. The commitment kind of was that we're going to redevelop this site. We're going to develop this site additionally. And so this is where we are at this particular point in time in terms of analyses, in terms of study. With that, we got direction from our city manager to kind of step forward and begin to develop this master plan concept. Met with Deputy Manager Weaver, and he and I began to look at some alternatives. And it just so happens that we approved on-call contracts with a whole variety of engineering and architecture firms, including the firm that we are intending to deal with, Matrix. And so the convenience of that was within the limitations that were placed on those bids. We're able to meet with Matrix. Steve and I met with them, talked about scope of work, and came up with a potential scope of work and kind of what we're thinking about on this particular piece of property. And within that scope of work, as outlined in the information you have there, is first of all, is we know that the auditorium remodel, as it was designed 21 years ago, was going to be $2.47 million. Ignoring for a moment on improvements or repairs that would be necessary because 21 years has elapsed, what would that set of plans cost to build today? And we certainly had recent experience in terms of being shocked by the reality of construction in construction of Fire Station 503. So task number one was going to be included, take those plans, which we have, and cost those out with today's prices so that we got an idea of where we are if you decided to put that building back into use. So that's task order number one. We also, in relationship to that, the idea was, does it make sense ultimately to demolish the auditorium and gymnasium buildings? The auditorium was built in 1963, the gym was built in 1971, and those buildings are kind of sit over there as they were. So does it make sense to do those demolitions in the interest of redeveloping the project, redeveloping the campus with various projects? Building B that we moved into when Fidelity National Title vacated that building, Larry was a finance director, and he and I got together and decided that it might make sense for us to move over there. And so finance, IT, and administrative services at the time, we made the deal to move over to Building B, and so we're still over there. But it's aging, it needs work, and it really does need some attention. So does it make sense for us to build a replacement Building B, not only for those operations, but perhaps others as well, either to be vacant in the event of needing them in the future, or does it make sense if there's, for example, possibly community services operation that's kind of housed in a couple of different facilities? So does one building or two buildings make sense in terms of construction costs? Just possibilities. So that's the issue with Building B. Also, the possibility at some point in time of a freestanding council chambers. Does that make sense? This space here undoubtedly will always be preserved, but it does present some challenges in terms of technology and accommodation. So that was put as a potential aspect of this, building a freestanding council chambers on the campus. In addition to that, we know that Fire Station 501 is slated for replacement down the block here. So does it make sense for Station 501 to be located on this campus? There's some challenges and some issues involved, but that was one of the elements of this scope of work. And finally, how might we use or develop the properties that the city has acquired, again, on 8th Street in Picacho? We've owned that first vacant lot for quite a while. We recently obtained the piece that has the old DNA engineering building on, and then there's additional space there. So how might that factor in to redeveloping the City Hall campus? So that was a scope of work that we developed, and we got with Matrix, sat down with them and talked through it, and ended up with a draft, and we refined the draft. And the document that you have before you this evening is the actual scope of work, the draft scope of work that we intend to move forward with. Matrix estimates a project timetable to between 3 and 5 months. The final product will provide potential avenues to accommodate growth and development of the city's operation currently located on this campus, as well as much needed information as staff discusses potential future bond issue questions to be put before the voters. Matrix has familiarity with our community. They've done work in Casa Grande before, and they're very excited about the potential of coming forward. And for somebody that doesn't do this area very much, seeing the technology that's employed in doing these plans is also very, very helpful as well. So those are the basics this evening. We're bringing it to you for information. We have an expectation, we want to move forward with the project. But before we get your input and feedback and direction and answer your questions, I'll turn it back over to Larry.
Thanks, Scott, for the overview. And I think I mentioned you were a historian, right? That's what I said, Mr. Mayor. What's interesting is Scott's going through this history. I've read the document that Scott has followed, that all of you have a copy of, no fewer times than 3. Scott and I and Stephen have had at least 5, 6, maybe 10 conversations on this. And there's one element that I want to just highlight very quickly for the mayor and council that, at least from my seat, has influenced the direction that as a city manager I have been recommending the use of this campus. And that is that early on in following the acquisition of the properties in this campus, the city of Casa Grande formed a tax increment financing redevelopment district. And in fact, that is when there was a decision made to ultimately sell a portion of this property to the Garnett that ultimately could be used under the statutes at that particular time to serve as a revenue stream. And I know that prior councils, we've got the former mayor with us today that was on the council when I started with the staff and part of the project. There was a lot of evaluation over the years about the potential of us always taking advantage of that tax increment financing redevelopment district in an effort to really pursue private investment into this campus. We're certainly not advocating that that cannot be the case tonight, but given the statutory changes that transpired about a decade ago, there's really not any current advantages. I think all of you are aware of the fact that each year, Casa Grande, and I know our mayor specifically, advocates to the legislature about the potential of bringing back some type of rules, regulations, statutes that would allow for tax increment financing or some version thereof in Arizona. They are not on the books today. And given that current state, when we've had discussions about growth and development, and as Scott did, provided the overview, you can see that we have attempted to navigate much of the growth that has transpired with the development of the court, with the developments that's been happening here in the city and the use of this space around the growth and development right here on this campus. And I think the plan really does that Scott has scoped for the council this evening really continues to take a look at that focus, that we would utilize this campus more as a governmental campus than looking for the private investment and or some type of tax increment financing. Certainly not advocating tonight that does not become a potential in the future, but I want to make sure that the council is aware that at least today, this scope is going to be focused on facilities that we would use in our governmental operations. And so, as Mr. Barber has pointed out, this first step is really just an opportunity to evaluate options that we may have for some level of future development on this campus. It's not making any recommendations or considering any type of specific outcome. That will be a decision that will be made in the future. This is just giving the council an opportunity to evaluate, but most importantly, it's giving us an opportunity to evaluate the auditorium itself specifically, which has been a point of discussion for it's probably 2 decades. And what are we going to do with that particular facility? And what this does do is it gives us the opportunity to evaluate what that cost might be if we elected to use that facility and renovate it and bring it into a performing art. I think I would be remiss if I did not mention that staff has been working on other alternatives in the community and have had recent discussions with the Casa Grande Elementary School District about potential partnerships. I don't want to go into a lot of depth tonight because we've just started really getting into the crux of that dialogue, but I want the council to know that part of the commitment that we have made to the advocates of this auditorium, as well as to our staff as we've moved forward, is that we want to evaluate options and bring those options before council. But I can tell you, based on the dialogue, the early dialogue that we've had with the elementary school district, they are very, very supportive of using existing space that they have to potentially serve the need of a performing arts. And that may be a better path for us in the long term. But we hope to have a side-by-side comparison for staff to evaluate, consider, and make recommendations to the mayor and council when we get to that point. Scott mentioned the freestanding council chambers. Would certainly love to get your perspective of that. I know that this particular room itself has a lot of meaning to a lot of people, particularly if you went to high school here. However, since it really is not historic use in the city hall operations, right? None of our operations really have the historic significance that the high school and the various classrooms and the like. There's not a month that goes by where I don't hear, you're up where the principal used to be and the superintendent was down the hall, and they come into our conference room, and everybody is always very thoroughly impressed with the work that we've done and the maintenance that we continue to do to keep this building preserved and certainly a iconic feature of our community. But it is something that we'd like to get some feedback on. If the council would want us to bring more options related to space for a council chamber specifically for, we would be happy to even put a little more focus in that particular element. And so with that, Mr. Mayor and Council, we certainly want to make sure that we have an opportunity to hear from you. As Scott said, we have the fortunate opportunity of this particular firm being under contract under the work that we've done prior from a procurement perspective. We've had good success with Matrix in the past, and we think that they will do a good job. There's a number of other components that will be evaluated if we elect to take the next step. This is really just the starting point for us tonight.
Thank you, Larry. And before I kind of throw it open to our council, I know that they're going to have some comments on this, but I just wanted to reiterate, this is tonight is a, let's look at our options and let's, throw some options out there, let Matrix kind of come back with some ideas. And so there'll be plenty of opportunity for public input on this process, because it's obviously this is public money and we want to make sure we respect that. And if we spend any money on it, this is just exploratory at this point in time. So that being said, anyone on the council would like to make some comments? Because I have some comments, but I'll wait. Lisa?
Sure, hold on a second. Well, I'm glad we're here, actually, to have a master plan. As long as I've been on the city council, this has been a discussion, as far as the auditorium.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's important for us to really look at, where we see us going in the future. But the cost, is critical. Of course, this is where I grew up. I had lunch in this area here. I was in the principal's office a couple times for good things, but no. So the history and the sentimental value. Of course, I love it, and I love how we're preserving this building and this area. Again, spent many times in that auditorium and plays and choir and everything. So, but I think it's important for us to see where we are and what the cost is, and then we can weigh our options, because it's easy to just say, I want to, keep it and preserve it, but it all comes down to dollars. So, I really, I'm happy to see this. I like several of the ideas. I know we are limited for the council chamber, so of course it would be nice having a freestanding building that's necessary. I think the auditorium, for the performing arts. I think, art is so important for our community. And so if we, have a facility where we can, grow and build on that, that's going to be important too. But if we have a partnership with the school district, we have to see what that means too. So I was happy to see that, what the scope is and what you guys are looking at. I really look forward to some of the details coming back and some of the ideas. And then it's going to help us make a decision moving forward. But I think because our community, we thrive on our history and our culture and who we are. We are an older community compared to some of the others. So I think it's important to get the community's input. So I'm really hoping at some point when we get this master plan, we can, just get the community's input, find out, what they think, just get some input, whether you do a survey or whatever, just so you can see what people, how people feel. I mean, some people really want something new and progressive, but, of course you have those oldies like us that like, the history, but there should be a happy medium there, and I think we can get there. So, but, I'm really looking forward to this. I'm glad it's a short time frame. 3 to 5 months is good. It's not going to be 2 years from now. So I think that's helpful. And so, I hope you can kind of keep us involved. And if you're having meetings or anything, let us know so we can share with our, constituents and the community members on what's going on. So, but I'm so happy we're at this point here.
Yeah, and to Lisa's point, it's not all about the money, though. It's also about what the community needs, right? So, and you mentioned that too. So,
Right.
So it's a combination of
Absolutely.
both. So, Donna?
I think the easy thing would be just, to tear it down, start over. But I think that we're more of a community than that. So we look at the community value, as you mentioned, and I think that we need to look at all the things that go along from property tax all the way to what this campus could look like. And we are out of room. Personally, I can't imagine being anywhere in a council chamber but here. that doesn't mean that I don't have an open mind, but I think because of the history of where we've been and sitting here, it's not just about a pretty building, but it's like a really good building that we can use, that we can have. So for me, I'm really interested in finding out the options, because as I said, it's real easy to just tear it down, but that's not an option that we should take unless we're sure. And I know that a lot of people said, no matter what, we need to preserve it and we need to put the money into it, but it's been 21 years. And the long and short of that is, regardless of, who's at fault, we haven't done anything with it. And so now's the time for us to step up and come up with a scope and a plan so that we can make decisions. Station 501 needs a new home. We know that. We own this property. We know that. So there's some things that we need to look at logistically and being money-wise at the same time, but not losing who we are as a community, because this is really the center of Casa Grande. So I look forward to it.
Matt, I know you have something to say.
Yeah, I should have gone before Lisa, but Lisa said it very nicely, as did Donna. But, as someone who has a lot of history here, eating lunch in here, singing the Messiah and Blue Notes over in the auditorium, you got to look at that, and it's our history, but we have to get a plan, and that's what's the important part here tonight, is that we've never had a plan. It's always tear it down, fix it up. There's nothing else. But I do want to say that we have done other things in the meantime that haven't been so widely publicized. I know we had RFPs out for the auditorium for public-private partnerships to see if someone had an idea, like maybe not an auditorium, maybe a hotel, whatever someone's idea is, but we've had no response on any of those. And I can, just a simple multiplier on the 2.5 million was probably pretty easy to do, but how accurate is that? So I'm glad we're doing that, And I've been, Performing Arts Center is very important, and I've been to a couple around the state. Wickenburg has a very nice one, but it's called the Del E. Webb Center for the Performing Arts for a good reason. That's how a lot of these places get built, is with a big endowment. So if that happens, if anyone's listening out there, that might be a way to get this done. You could put your name on the building, I'm sure. I shouldn't say it. We probably could arrange that with the right donation. There's a process to go through. The Chandler Center for the Arts, very nice one in the middle of Chandler near their city hall, is a partnership with the school district. So that's something else that we're thinking about, different things. The Mesa Arts Center is even bigger, much more than a theater. It's got, studios, stuff like that.
Multi-purpose.
And when they built that I think it was 15 years ago, it was $95 million to build that from the ground up. So that's kind of what we're dealing with. Another thing I think that's important is we do have other auditoriums in town. We have, I call it the junior high auditorium still. It's Casa Grande Middle School, Union High School, Vista Grande High School. We have the Black Box Theater downtown, and the Paramount is somewhat of an auditorium. How much is the utilization of those? Maybe that's something we need to look at we can get that information, maybe not in that study, but I'm sure that we could get that information so we could see what we're doing. And public-private partnership, I think, is going to be one of the big things to get this done. And then going back to this building, they did a great job, Foresight, Mayor Walton, former Mayor Walton's here. I know former Mayor Jackson was a city engineer at the time when they opened up the ceiling, didn't even know that had these nice light panels up here. So it's a really neat thing for our city, and I'll say, I don't think this building's ever going to go anywhere. It's the heart of our city and very, very noticeable. And the principal's office was here, and I was there too, Lisa, I won't say, but
But not for good reason.
yeah, never know. And, there's just so much history and generations going through these buildings. And speaking of that, we were here on Saturday with the Youth Commission, having our meeting in here, building our float, and then they had some downtime. We went outside on the grass. A beautiful day, not raining, thank you. And they were asking about the back part, and I said, they needed that at the time to pay for everything. Would we like to have that land back? I'm sure probably, but it's a good symbiosis right now, and it's something that had to be done at the time in order to afford all this. So again, the plan is the important part, and vision of someone that does this for a living, because maybe it's something we haven't even seen yet, and it's hard to sell that if we don't have some sort of vision. And the last thing I'm going to say, for my mom, who also went to school here, She was never in the principal's office, by the way. There's a time capsule from her graduating class in the corner of the auditorium, and she tells me that every time we talk about it to make sure and tell people that we need to remember that. So the class of 1965 has a time capsule in the cornerstone of the auditorium, so please don't forget. But I'm happy to see, because after 25 years, 21 years, I mean, it's time. We've got to get a vision and see what we're going to do, because it's either been tear it down or fix it up, and maybe we'll get some other ideas out of it. So thank you for bringing this up tonight, and it's time to move forward and make a decision.
Well, since we're on history, I as well was in this cafeteria, worked in this cafeteria, sung with Mr. Day, Blue Notes, played band with Mr. Harris in the band room. One of the last concerts that I put on was in the auditorium, All in One Community Choir, which is from all the churches in Casa Grande that we held in our auditorium. And I think this is one of the questions I believe I asked Larry as well as Steve in regards to that building. I think one thing we've always tried to, as you already stated, preserve our history. I'm proud of this building, showcase it to all my family, anybody coming to town. You know, that's my old high school. See it? It looked like the White House. But anyways, I do understand there's going to be a cost to it, and we're just talking about weighing our options and seeing what's best for us. And I'm in agreement. I think we brought up 501, our fire station upgrade, yes. And I know, as Matt Herman, Councilman, said, in regards to that 2.4, that's a lot more money now just to renovate, just to go in there and clean that out. So it's going to be a lot more money. So we just got to make sure we just be smart with what we do. And I think Lisa brought up the point in regards to our citizens and what do they feel? You know, because a lot of them feel that we need to be holding on to what we're holding on to. And some probably still going to say, let's hold on to it. But I think the time brings about a change. And with that change, we have to make some sound decisions on moving forward. And whether that is even moving out of here, going to one standing building for the council, that we can look into that. I think we should. I know another city across to the left of me that just got a brand new council chambers. And I heard it's really nice. However, we understand there's always going to be a cost, and we just have to weigh our options and see what's best for us and what's going to be the best way. You know, in building, you know, the Cardinal Stadium, one of the big things was naming rights. So that's what you brought up. And so that's just another option, things that we have to look at to see what's going to be best for us and cost effective. But at the same token, that it's going to look very good when it's all said and done. And I believe we have the bright minds to fulfill that and accomplish that. And I'm glad we're bringing it up now and talking about it.
All right. Thank you, Anthony. Bob?
Yes. I'm in the club too, a former Cougar, went to school here. And I think we are, right now, pretty much all on the same page. Don't touch Old Main, but we'd love to see ideas and dollars and what the challenges are. I think we're all anxious to address the issue that's been floating around out there for a long time. But of course, we want to be responsible, and we do have we all have a soft spot in our hearts for the community and for the school. So I'm anxious to undertake the journey, get the information, and toss around ideas and see where we go.
Great, thank you. Yeah, and I would agree. I would agree with everybody, all my fellow council members. You know, this building obviously is historic. I mean, this was built in the 1920s, and whether this is still the council chambers or not, this is still a historic building, and so that's not going to go away. So if we build a separate one, that's something to explore. The other two on the other side are not necessarily historic. I mean, they're historic to people who've had experiences in them, and I understand that. I did not go to school here, so speaking as an outsider in that regard. But I also want to look forward to what's best for the city of Casa Grande. What is the most effective use of the areas that we have and the abilities we have to make those changes for the future. And so just making sure this is an opportunity for us to look at those options and to kind of make sure that, you know, we take everything into consideration. And, you know, when we talk about an auditorium, I think and I look at it and go, well, how do we make that auditorium an event center? It's not just an auditorium. It's an event center. It's a place where events happen, where Hootie and the Blowfish show up and have a concert, you know, an intimate concert with 1,000 people, you know, and you have a graduation there, and in the same facility. That's you know, Craig McFarland's vision of what I think Casa Grande needs. We don't have anything like that. We have some good bones, I think, and so down the road, you know, we'll explore those options and, you know, and look to the future to make, you know, a facility that the city would be proud to be a part of and to participate at. So those are the things I think we need to make sure we consider. Public-private partnerships, I think, are important. Those are also things, naming rights, as somebody's mentioned here earlier. A conference center, you know, a hotel, you know, you name it. There's all kinds of things that this city is going to need. And where it goes and what it looks like, those are some of the things that we all will get an opportunity to hopefully have an impact on. So, all right, that being said, then I don't know unless anybody else has any other comments you guys want to make. Scott?
And just in parting, just a notation, you all know that this building is on the National Historic Register,
Oh, yeah.
so that.
It's not going anywhere.
That's not going anywhere. And the second is that we're going to be paying attention to this day. There are two repeating themes throughout the organization. One is meeting space, and we can't even schedule city meetings in the rec center because it's just booked up. It's so busy. And the other is the issue of parking on this campus. So we'll be looking at those two issues that we deal with on a regular
And parking
basis.
for downtown. Parking for downtown. You know, when we do events, Main Street, downtown events, if we want downtown to be vibrant, those are all considerations we need to be thinking about when we look at this whole campus and how it affects even our downtown redevelopment. So, yeah, for sure. Thank you, Scott. Larry, anything else? Nothing else. At some point in time, obviously, this is going to come back, and there'll be an opportunity for public comment.
Absolutely.
Okay.
And again, we have narrowed the scope on this first phase simply to get what I would consider to be everybody's imagination and options working in the same direction. From there, there's a variety of other components that can ultimately be let out. But, you know, our thought was, let's get it started. Let's put together some options for the mayor and council to weigh in on, and then begin to take that out to the community and likely put together other types of plans, capital improvement plans and the like that would correspond with the ultimate options that are established.
And Larry, I know it calls for like three alternative conceptual plans, and or picking one or picking combinations of all three, you know, into one. So there's no limitation in terms of what we can do and even adding to it. So there's no it's a blank slate that we're going to start with. So okay. Well, thank you, everyone. We're going to stand adjourned until 7 o'clock. It's about time.
It is.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to tonight's City Council meeting. We'll call the meeting to order, and the first order of our business tonight is our invocation and our Pledge of Allegiance. Matt, would you do that?
Yes, I will.
And tonight we have Pastor Pruitt from the Cowboy Church. Pastor, welcome.
Thank you.
If you all would stand for the invocation and the pledge.
Let's pray together. Father in heaven, thank you so much for the day that you've given to us. Father, I thank you for the many blessings that you've showered upon us. Father, I thank you for the last 21 years that I've had the privilege and joy of living and working in this city. Father, tonight I come to you and pray for our mayor, for the city council. Father, for the business that's at hand this evening. Father, your word tells us that it is ultimately you that puts us in positions of leadership and authority. I thank you for these men and women. I thank you for their lives, for their service. Father, I continue to pray for them, that you would give them wisdom and understanding in their decision making. Father, as our city continues to grow, I pray that you would watch over us, protect us. Father, in a special way tonight, we continue to remember the Stevens family. So many families that are touched by this tragedy. Father, I pray for the help and the healing that only you can bring. Father, tonight I thank you for our first responders, for our police department, our fire department. Father, I too pray that you would watch over and protect them. Father, enable them to be at their very best as they serve the citizens of this community. Father, again, we thank you for this day and for this evening. Pray that everything that's said and done in this place this evening would bring you honor and glory. And I humbly ask these things in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Pastor. Thank you, Matt. Let the roll call vote show that everyone is here except Mr. Lavender, and he does have an excuse, so I would appreciate someone giving him a pass.
Second.
All right, a motion and a second to excuse Mr. Lavender. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right, please note Mr. Lavender's excuse. Minutes, item C. Would you mind doing
Yep.
that?
Mayor McFarland, I move to approve the minutes of the regular city council meeting, November 20th, 2023, and accept for the record the Board of Adjustment minutes for October 10th, 2023, as presented.
Second?
All right, a motion and second to approve the minutes as presented. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, the minutes are approved. Claims against the city?
Mayor McFarland, I move to accept and pay the claims dated November 15th through the 28th, 2023, as presented.
Second?
All right, a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right. Meeting agenda. Is there any changes to the meeting agenda, Mr. Raines?
We have no changes, Mr. Mayor.
Council members, anyone? No. All right. Seeing no changes, then I'll entertain a motion to approve the agenda as presented.
So moved.
Second?
A motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right, the agenda is approved as presented. Item F is special presentations, which we have one tonight. Have some three new officers tonight. Richard Vassell, Jacob Bonsall, and James Gomez. Gentlemen, congratulations. Wait, not yet, because you're not sworn in yet.
And the laws of the state of Arizona.
Ladies and gentlemen, let's congratulate these men. Congratulations. Is he there? Congratulations again, gentlemen.
Off to work.
Yeah, now get back to work. All right, our next item on the agenda is our consent agenda. All items with an asterisk are considered routine matters and will be enacted by one motion, one roll call vote of the council. There'll be no separate discussion of these items unless a council member or member of the public so requests, in which event the item will be pulled from the consent agenda and considered in its normal sequence of the agenda. Is there anyone on council who would like to pull anything off the agenda? Or consent agenda, sorry. Anyone from the public? All right, seeing none, then I will entertain a motion to
Mayor
approve.
McFarland, I would move for approval of the consent agenda as presented.
Second?
I have a motion and a second. Gloria, can I please get a roll call vote?
Councilmember Edwards.
Yes.
Councilmember Huddleston.
Yes.
Councilmember McBride.
Yes.
Councilmember Fitzgibbons.
Yes.
Councilmember Herman.
Yes.
Mayor McFarland.
Yes. All right, next item is item H, which is our public comments. This is an opportunity for the public to address the council. I want to remind you to please, if you approach the podium, please state your name, your address, and keep your comments to 3 minutes, please. I do have a speaking card from Jean Henderson. Jean, if you'd like to approach the podium, please.
Good evening. I am Jean Henderson, 204 East 9th Street, Casa Grande, Arizona, 85122. My vote for the best at the Electric Light Parade is for the grounds staff for the exquisite lighting around the trees at Pert Park, the Christmas tree lights, and the crystal white Stargate lights, which I wanted to pass through. You know what Stargate was. Others were lowriders, bicycles, the 9 crystal light reindeer, APS police and fire department trucks, and others were extra nice. I stood near the end of the parade in the area with mostly Mexican Americans who loved the whole parade, the songs, lights, lowriders, and all the beautifully lighted entries equaling 100. We also saw about 8 to 10 CGPD motorcycle cops who escorted those in the parade. The kids were ecstatic. Even though the weather was nippy, everyone was in a great mood, laughing, singing, dancing while covered with rose. Also, when leaving the parking areas this time, the exiting was superbly orchestrated, better than I'd experienced before. Here's hoping for continued out-of-this-world parades. Muchas gracias to the organizers.
Thank you, Jean.
Thank you.
All right. Anyone else?
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, council members, Mr. Raines. My name is Carl Peterson. I live at 63 Chestnut Lane, Hendersonville, North Carolina. We happened to be in town for a couple days, and I happened to see there was a council meeting this evening. And I happened to look further, and I saw some of the reports of commissions, and I came across the Youth Commission. And I noted that the Youth Commission is about to celebrate its 20th anniversary, and that was a little shell-shocking to see that 20 number. But I had to come by this evening and thank you as a council and as a city for keeping the youth of Casa Grande always in the forefront. I want to thank Councilwoman McBride. Without her, the Youth Commission would have never taken a wing and gone forward. Councilman Herman, I know you worked with them for 10 years at least, And I read all of your resumes last night, and you've all been very involved with the youth of Casa Grande over the years. And they're our future. They're the future of this community, the future of every community. Hopefully they'll sit in some of your chairs in the years ahead and carry out your important work. Deborah and I have many fond memories of Casa Grande and our years here and our service in this building and in the school district. And I just want to thank you for what you're doing for Casa Grande. I just hope the people who live in Casa Grande never forget what a privilege it is to be in this community. Thank you.
Thank you, Carl. Carl, it's good to see you.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming in tonight. Anyone else? The floor is still open. All right, seeing no one, then I will close the public comment section, and we'll move right to our boards and commissions. Item J on the agenda. This is to consider the reappointment of Brett Benedict, Rick Peters, and Celeste Garza to the Planning and Zoning Commission. These are second terms for all three. We did interview them last week and determined that they were still interested in serving the city, and we appreciate their service and want to thank them publicly for everything they do and the volunteer time that they put in. Planning and Zoning is a very busy and very involved commission. It is probably our busiest commission of all the boards and commissions that we have in the city, and I know it takes some time. And Paul, thank you to you and your staff as well for working with this group. I think they're doing a great job, and thank you to your staff as well. So if there are no objections, I'd entertain a motion to approve the three not renewing candidates.
Mayor McFarland, I move to approve the reappointment of Brett Benedict, Rick Peters, and Celeste Garza to the Planning and Zoning Commission with the terms to extend through November 7th, 2026.
Second?
All right. I think, Brett, you're here, aren't you? You
Yeah,
wave your hand.
Brett's back here.
So, and is there any of the others here? Just want to recognize Brett. Thank you, Brett, for being here publicly. Appreciate it. And again, thank you to the other two as well. All right, so I have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right, they are approved. Congratulations to all of them. All right, next item then is our item K, which is K1, considering the election of the mayor pro tem and the swearing in. So, Mr. Raines, did you have some comments you wanted to interject here?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, members of the council, obviously, it's that time of year again for the election of the mayor pro tem and the swearing in this evening. I do think it's important for our residents to know that our council has essentially elected a process that has typically been one that allows every council member the opportunity to serve a term as the mayor pro tem. And tonight, Mr. Mayor and members of the council, we would ask that you essentially use a similar format as you've used in the past, which is a nomination, and then ultimately, once nominations are closed, then we will take votes.
All right. Ready?
Yeah.
Mayor McFarland, I move that we appoint Councilmember Anthony Edwards for Mayor Pro Tem for the next term.
Second?
Does he know what he's getting into?
He's been groomed.
He's been groomed, okay.
That pay raise.
Yeah, we're going to double your salary, Anthony. Actually, that's not true.
That's not true.
I forgot that you do get a salary, sorry. All right, I have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Anthony, congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
And now we have the swearing in.
Another one.
That's 4 tonight.
I know.
I know. For a short agenda.
I, Anthony Edwards. Do solemnly swear.
That I will support the Constitution of the United
Constitution of the United States and the laws of the state of Arizona. That I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same. And defend them against all enemies. Foreign and domestic. And that I will faithfully. And impartially. Discharge the duties. Of Mayor Pro Tem. According to the best of my abilities. So help me God. Feel like I'm
Now, congratulations, Anthony. Now it's official. Gloria's made it official.
Thank you.
All right.
I can move seats, too.
Next time.
You know, that concludes actually tonight's business. All we have left is our reports, and Anthony, I'm going to start with you.
First of all, I want to continue prayers for Chris and Vanessa Stevens. So much that they're going through now, as well as our students. I spent a majority of all last week at CGUHS, just being there for the teachers, the students, for anybody that needs any kind of assistance and help, and so much prayer is needed for our students. And so want to make sure that we do that. Also, I want to say that we have a lot of great teachers. Our superintendent, who is a councilman, Lavender, is doing a wonderful job, and especially even with this situation and having to work with the police department, as well as all the other different things that goes along with such sadness. But I want to thank them for their hard work. And the teachers as well just don't know. Teachers as well as students, what's going on at campus. And so much prayer is needed for them. And that's really all that I want to say in regards to any kind of report, is that we just continue to pray for family as well as the student body.
Thank you, Anthony. Donna?
Just a couple quick things. Public Safety Foundation dinner was this weekend. They did a wonderful job. Hats off to Community Services. Danny, your staff are true to none. The parade was fantastic, especially with no rain this year. But they did an awesome job, and downtown was just booming with activity. So I think in the light of the sadness that we've had in the last week, that I think it did everybody a lot of good to have a little bit of cheer. So it was just really good. And that's it.
Can I say something real quick?
Of course.
This was my first year ever being able to be at the light parade, because I'm normally working. I'm normally out of town, out of state. Unbelievable. I didn't know it was that big. Basically,
Kind of a big deal.
it's got past the old Hermitage, because I thought that was big. you
way
know.
past that.
And it's way past that. And, like for 85, I think, floats, I'm like, man, it's mind blowing. I'm like, I told my wife, why you didn't tell me? And it was beautiful. I actually listened to our mayor. I was right beside you. And so, but it was a wonderful parade. Enjoyed ourselves there. Thank you for reminding that.
Matt?
Thanks, Mayor. I was talking to Jeff Lavender, our council member. He's not able to be here tonight, and telling him that how glad I was that he was superintendent of our school at this important time for our community and for the kids, because no one else could have done it. And he sent me an email, asked me to read this on his behalf, since he couldn't be here. So this is from Jeff Lavender. So I want to thank the Casa Grande Police Department for all of their hard work in arresting the children who shot and killed Haley Stevens. They've been working day and night to solve this crime. The residents of our community have stepped up like they always do after a horrible tragedy. Thank you to everyone for your messages of support, condolences, and prayers. A special thank you to Anthony Edwards for making himself available to support our staff and students last week. He also did an excellent job speaking to the community on Friday night at the Friday night for Haley Candlelight Vigil. So thank you. And I'll say that was Jeff's official statement, and he and I were talking. And he talked about how he met with some of the news stations from Phoenix and how they're so quick to come down the I-10 for a tragedy. And why don't they show the good part of our community? And there has been some reporting about the vigil, about stuff on the statewide news. And that's what really makes our community great, is how we handle it. But even I've talked to dispatch, and especially Jody with the dispatch, does such a great caring job of covering something so difficult. So I want to recognize them for that, because they're our real hometown news. And Also to know that Florence School District came together with some people to do the barbecue. The firefighters local 3752 started a GoFundMe for the Stevens family. The original goal was $40,000, but of course our community, they're already over $75,000 of that goal. The CGUHS cheer had over 100 current and former cheerleaders to walk in the parade to honor Haley. I personally know her father from high school, Chris Ox Stevens. So our thoughts really go out to their family. And then on another part, Nick Elliott, the detective that's in charge of this, is also an alumni of Casa Grande Union High School. So it just shows our community and even through tragedy, how we come together. And that's what's special about living here is Carl County is, it's a great community. Bad things happen everywhere, but it's how you handle it. And so I'm really proud of what we've done. So I want to say that. And on a lighter note, thank you. The Youth Commission, I got to work with them this weekend on their float. We pulled it in the parade.
We saw you in the parade.
Thank you. We had a great time. And the kids is neat because they're all going through this stuff too. And we were done with the float. It's about 2:00. And they were here, and I said, well, if you guys want, you can go and we'll meet up. They go, well, we just want to hang out. I said, so we hung out. And they went and played in the grass. We watched their theme was Peanuts, so we watched the Peanuts Christmas special on the big screen in here. So they practiced their dance moves and everything. So it was really good time for them. And so it was a great thing to see. And they were laying in the grass, and we got to talk about the history of the high school building, which we talked about earlier, and everything. So it was neat. And to the community services department, my wife rode with me in the truck, and she said, man, this is a well-oiled machine checking in for this parade and everything. So you guys did a great job. And as said earlier, the park looks great. The laser light show on the City Hall building looks fantastic. So thank you very much. Couple things coming up. We have the menorah lighting here December 10th, next Sunday at 5 p.m. in front of City Hall.
And everyone's invited.
And everyone's invited, so it'll be a great event. It's the third annual that we're going on now. And then I just wanted to remind everyone too, shop small, shop local for the holidays. Shopping small is one thing and shopping local is quite another, but even if you buy it online, we still get some of that sales tax dollars, so you don't have to drive to Chandler or Gilbert or anywhere. You can still get everything here in Casa Grande, almost everything. So please just remember that at the holidays, because you're actually supporting our community who supports these events. Like Buffalo Wild Wings next week is doing something for Steve's. So it's all coming together. But just remember, this the community that takes care of each other, and how we take care of that is by helping out the merchants here and everything. So that's all. And thanks for the decoration, Gloria's department. And I got a lot of compliments on the Christmas tree in the lobby as well. So thank you. And that's it.
Thank you, Matt.
Really.
Lisa?
You all have said it so well, but I did want to, Mr. Peterson, you talk about how it's a privilege, to be in a community like this, and we all felt it last week. When tragedy hits a community, it's how you handle it and people coming together. And so it was just such a blessing, and, to see people come together and be there for, the families, our fire department. My heart goes out to you. This is your family that was affected. Our police department, just the outstanding job. It was tough because there's a lot of rumors going out and, what was happening, but we knew our police department was working behind the scenes to make sure that they had everything in place to bring a conviction and bring these people and bring, justice to Haley. So, I'm just so proud, of our team, our staff, making sure that you're keeping the community calm. The school district, of course, I have family and friends that teach there, friends that have kids there. It's just huge. It's just been a very, very tough time for our community, and we've come together. And, of course, you want to celebrate, and the electric light parade was so great. It was a tough time. People were mourning, but I think by, the cheer team coming together and, having their candlelight walk in memory, and some of the floats even had in memory of Haley, to her family. So, people were, felt that presence and proud to be from that community. And that was a way for us to all come together. And our community service did a fantastic job. It was a great event. It's just so exciting to see all the little kids and, all ages at that parade. So just again, so proud, and that was a perfect time, for all of us to come together and celebrate us as a community. So I just thank everyone that was involved there. We also celebrated the life of a longtime Casa Grande old firefighter, Gene Lehman. His service was, beautiful, and, just celebrated a life of a man that has done so much for our community. So that was a great event. But yeah, no, I think, we have a lot to look forward to, and, this is a time of celebration, but just keep all those people in your prayers and your hearts that suffer during these times too, especially with loss. That's it.
Thanks, Lisa. Bob?
Mayor, nothing further than what's already been talked about. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, and just to echo all my fellow council members' sentiments on Haley's death, and I think it hit our community really hard. And so I think the Electric Light Parade was an opportunity for us to celebrate and kind of pick ourselves back up. So, talk to each other, talk to your kids, hold your kids close, and we'll get through this. Mindy, I wanted to ask, is it too late to vote for the People's Choice? Yeah, I closed today. Oh.
Yesterday at 6 p.m.
Oh, thanks.
Don't you read the website?
Well, I did, but I didn't remember the date. All right, never mind. But we do have the Light Home Tour, that starts on December 11th. So that's, how many entrants do we have? About 50. So we have 50 homes that have signed up to be part of this exhibition, and you can get the map off of our city's website and go visit as many as you can, because I know a couple of them, and they are spectacular.
All right.
I know there's like three or four of them just in my neighborhood in Coyote Ranch. So my daughter's one of them too. So vote for hers, would you? And,
Don't give the address.
I won't. And then also I want to also recognize it was my wife's birthday last week. So happy birthday, babe.
Good job.
I usually forget. Not her birthday, but I forget to give her credit. Anyway, also a shout out to the parade staff. Danny, great job by your staff. Please give them our appreciation. Really, all the city staff, fire, police, everybody worked together, streets, public works. Yeah, everybody worked together. It was really a group effort. And I really want to give a big shout out to everybody. And also to our sponsors, Kramer Media. Thank you guys for your support. APS, thank you for your support as well for this parade, because you guys make it happen. And then again, on that home tour, December 11th to 31st. 31st is the last day you can vote. So I do know that date.
All right.
December 31st. And then I also wanted to give a shout out to one of our new employees. He happens to be here tonight. Rob, you're here. Stand up, Robert. Robert is our new management analyst. He's working under Larry Raines. So welcome, and welcome to the city. And thank you for being here. If you all haven't met him, you need to introduce yourself. He's a nice young man. And that's probably enough for me. So anyway, appreciate everybody, and we'll stand adjourned.